Welcome to Lesson 2 of the introduction section of the BJCP training program by the Brewers Anonymous Homebrew Club. This lesson will take a look at the course structure of this program and the components that will be used for the program as well. So, we got a bit to go through here, so let's start off with the course structure and specifically the source. This course is based after the BJCP suggested and provided study materials, mainly the BJCP exam study guide. Now, we don't follow it page for page, but we do cover all the information in there. In fact, if you'd like to take a look at it, a copy of the file will be on the exercise files tab of this lesson. The initial focus of this course material will be for that online entrance exam. It is the first exam you have to pass before you can do anything else towards your certification, so that is where we will start. But along the way, we are going to have style studies interjected in between these course materials. We have to learn every substyle between categories 1 and 26. That's a lot of styles, and we don't want to save them to the end. We want to slowly build our base of knowledge on those styles, so we will introduce those during the course material that covers the online entrance exams. Once we complete the focus on that online entrance exam, we will focus on the elements of the judging exam, including a lot of actual practice for judging beers. And that includes lots and lots of score sheet practices. You're going to learn more about this in an upcoming section, but these will be handwritten sheets for your exam, and you'll not only need a lot of practice to make sure these are complete and as accurate as they can be, you also have to have handwritten 6 of them by the time that exam is done. So for the course structure, the online exam is a lot of information. There are 180 questions on each exam, and those exams are built randomly from a very large pool of questions. So there is a lot of potential information in every exam. Not every single detail we cover in the online exam preparation may be on your exam, but it could be, and that's what we have to prepare for. And in that, there's a lot of dry material. That's just a reality of this. There's a lot of things that aren't the most exciting thing to talk about, but you will need to know them for your exam. And we're going to knock those out early. And we're going to start with the information and history on the BJCP. Following that, we are going to look at the exams in detail. Now, the information, the details of the exam aren't necessarily or at all going to be asked on your entrance exam. But with these exams being so in depth of what they cover, it would be best to know exactly what you're getting into. So we'll be able to tell you what information is going to be an exam, in what format, and what exactly you need to do to pass that exam. Along with that, we're going to talk about the different ranks in the BJCP, and we're going to talk about experience points, both subjects which are very likely to be on your exam. Then we're going to go through the judging process, and we're going to talk about score sheets and style guidelines. They're going to be 3 separate courses, but in the end, we're going to tie them all together. With the judging process, we're going to talk about the suggested process in the BJCP study exam guide, including 2 methods that are specifically noted. We're also going to break down the score sheet panel by panel so that you start to get really familiar with that. And the style guidelines, we're going to show you where everything is, because there are, for sure, some very specific questions about specific beers and their specific statistics or characteristics on your exam, and knowing where to find that information as fast as possible is going to save you valuable seconds when it's time to sit and take that exam. I can say that set of subjects right there, that's about the driest material we're going to cover. From there, we move on to things that are a little more interesting and a little more fun to talk about, starting with ingredients. Now, we will have to cover ingredients from the perspective of what the exam wants you to know about the ingredients, but it's still gets a little more interesting than some of the subjects that we've covered up to that point. Along with that is also the brewing process. Again, from the perspective that the exam wants you to understand the brewing process. I'm sure many people watching this right now have some home brewing experience, and you might not only practice these same processes, you might not even agree with them, but they're going to be on the exam in the way they want you to know them, so we will have to review those specific processes. And then from there, we're going to talk about off flavors and aromas, what they are, what causes them, and how to fix them. To break all that up, we're going to introduce and start our style studies. And the style studies, we will be reviewing each substyle from category 1 to 26 in the style guidelines. We're not going to study styles 27 and beyond. None of those will be on the judging exam. So that does narrow down the amount of substyles altogether that we'll need to learn, but it still is a pretty significant number. While we're learning about those styles, we are going to judge and complete a beer score sheet for at least one of the commercial examples if we can find it. If you can't find a particular commercial example listed for the style that we're studying at the time, we're going to judge and complete a beer score sheet for a beer that's out of style. And that is practice that we will need. It's essential practice. We're going to be judging beers in our exam that aren't to style. We're also going to be judging beers that are flawed. So we need the practice to know how well a beer is to style as much as we need to know how off a beer is from style. So when we shift into the judging exam, those style studies will continue. And in that, we will be practicing writing out our score sheets. Practice, practice, practice. I could actually fill this entire screen with the word practice. That's how much we're going to do. It is vital that we practice filling out score sheets completely and by hand. So while the focus is now on learning those styles and knowing them well enough to judge without the aid of a study guide, we're going to be doing some other exercises along the way that will help develop our perception skills. We're going to help expand our descriptive abilities and build our beer vocabulary. We're going to try to write evaluations at the master level. The BJCP does give a very good example of what they expect a description to be at every level of judging. Seems like the best plan of action here is to go for that master level, because even if we miss a few of those key points, we still might be somewhere in those higher levels like certified or national and do even better on our judging exam. We're going to work on filling out complete and great score sheets, not only for the exam, which is incredibly beneficial to us, but when we start judging after it's all said and done as well. Again, I'm reasonably sure a lot of you watching this are brewers, and you've probably competed in a homebrew competition, and you know how frustrating it is to get a score sheet that is in no way helpful, doesn't tell you anything that's really specifically good or bad about the beer or why it's off or to style. We don't want to be those judges. We have enough of those. We need to try to be better than those. We'll also work on troubleshooting and suggestions for improvements for beers that aren't quite to style. Again, that's another thing to practice for the exam and something we will need to do in real-world judging. And somewhere during all this, I'm going to share something I discovered during the pandemic, which is when I took my judging exam. We're going to look at a way to check the consensus of our score sheets against a consensus online to see how well we're describing that beer with other people that are judging the beer. So now let's talk quick about the components of this course. There was an overwhelming request by the club members to make this as virtual as possible. So this is you're watching the virtual component right now. We're going to try to virtualize everything we do to some extent. There's going to be some that are just impossible to do, but we are trying to make this the most thorough online resource to prepare for these two exams that we can. And the virtual components start with breaking down each subject into easy to find and reviewable video segments online. There's a lot of information, especially for the entrance exam, to know, and it can be difficult to find one piece of information that you're looking to review in an hour-long video. This should help. There's going to be some videos obviously longer than the others, but they should be pretty focused on the subject that the lesson is describing to find the information you're looking for. We'll have a dedicated channel on our Discord server for discussion and updates. This is mainly for the Brewers Anonymous club members. This is our Discord server. You may have already seen the channel. It's on there, and it should start to come to life once this video is actually being viewed. But for anyone that's not a club member or not anywhere near Central Florida, we have other ways to ask questions, which we'll get into here very shortly. And we're also going to put together, we have practice exams at the end of every section to review the information you just learned. And we're also putting together a real world practice exam of 180 questions, the same types of questions on the same types of subjects with that 1 hour time limit for you to practice. None of these questions are going to be on your exam because those questions are copywritten and we don't even know what they are anyway to share them. But we want to set up an environment where you can practice the exact same conditions that you'll take that test when it comes time to take your online entrance exam to one, see if you're ready, and two, help build that confidence for when you're ready to sit and take that exam. But that's further down the line as this course grows and builds. There's going to be an in-person sessions component to this, and during those sessions, we'll review subject matter, anything that's still not clear after asking questions, watching the videos, and we'll have several people to help explain and make things clearer if that comes up. We're going to do style studies together. This is going to be done the same way that we're going to do these online ones, but this will have the benefit of several people giving their input of what they've perceived or didn't perceive in the beer. We're also going to do sensory panels, and this picture shows an off-flavor kit, but a sensory panel can also include developing our skills of identifying aromas and flavors in beers without these flaws. Identifying and describing both the positives in a beer and the flaws in a beer are extremely important for judging, so we'll be doing both when we're together. And you've probably been expecting this to pop up on the slide. We're going to be doing lots and lots of judging, and what comes with that? Lots and lots of score sheets. There's, of course, an offline component to this. There is self-studying involved. This online program will give as much information as we can to prepare you for the exam, but it's up to you to watch the videos, take notes, whatever you do best to prepare for an exam like this, that's in your hands. And along with that, from time to time, there'll be things that we'll refer to as homework. And again, this is up to you how much you want to follow or which ones you want to follow and complete as opposed to not. It's not going to exclude you from the program if you don't do the homework. It's only there to help you prepare for the exam. There's a help component to this course, and that starts with our dedicated Discord channel. For anyone that is not part of our Discord server or part of our club, there's an email address tied specifically to this course. It is bjcp@brewersanonymous.org. And there's also a Q&A tab on the course homepage where you can drop a question that anyone can answer. So any of those points of contact are available to anyone that needs to ask a question or make contact with us in one way or another. There's also the communication component that falls mainly on us that are working behind the scenes on this program. And again, it starts with our dedicated Discord channel. When something needs to be shared, there will be email updates. So if you've enrolled in this course from our website and not just watching these videos on YouTube, and you put in a valid email address, that's the address we're going to be sending the updates to, and any announcements or anything else along those lines. I am going to try to send out a welcome email to anyone whenever they enroll. So if you haven't seen that email, check your spam or your junk folder. And if it's there, make sure you whitelist it so you can get those future updates. If it's not there yet, I just might not have sent it. So give it a couple days. And in addition to those channels, there's also an announcements tab on the course homepage. And we'll, of course, share anything important that comes up having to do with this course on that page so everyone's aware as well. Okay, that is everything I wanted to share about this course and this lesson. So next lesson is going to be just a document where everything that has to do with a link or an email address or any kind of information you need to refer to, that's where it's going to be in that lesson. Then the lesson after that, another video lesson, we're going to talk about how to navigate this system, which seems like you've probably already done to some extent because you've watched this video. But regardless of that, I will see you in that next lesson.